Hi, my name is Aaron Gilbert, and today I will be reading portions of and discussing the book Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. A book that I feel would be a great read for young readers, grades K, 1 and 2, based on the pictures that are in it and the simple language that the author uses to paint the picture of Harold and his purple crayon. Before I start, I'd like you to think about what you would draw if you had a magical crayon like Harold. Imagine yourself in the situations that he finds himself in the story and think about what you would do and how you would handle these situations and what you think about how he did take care of these things. So here we see Harold with his purple crayon. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. So right away, Harold's taking his crayon, he's drawing a moon and a path to go on. So we should have a pretty good idea that we're in Harold's imagination. He's going ahead, and he's taking us on this journey. And this journey takes him to several different places. He starts walking, and then all of a sudden he decides, I need somewhere to go, so I'm going to draw myself a forest that has an apple tree. And he thinks the apples would taste good, but they're not quite ready yet. So then Harold goes ahead and decides, I'm going to put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard these apples. But Harold was so creative in his drawings of the dragon to protect, started scaring him. Another instance of some good imagination and what Harold's doing and how you possibly could find yourself handling the situation is Harold's climbing a mountain, and suddenly he tries to get to the other side and he realizes there's no other side of the mountain. So he starts falling. But luckily he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. And he took this balloon to try and find his way back to his home, because he was getting tired and he realized it was time to maybe start thinking about going to bed. So he goes ahead and he draws himself little different things to help him get home. And he remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed, he got in, and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. Every time Harold had a problem, he drew something to help him out of this problem. There are some other situations Harold could have gone through. How would you handle those situations? He was flying a kite, it got stuck in a tree. How would you get it down? He was taking a walk and it starts to rain. What could Harold draw? What would you do if you were Harold? What would you draw to keep yourself dry from the rain? The setting of this story, I think, is very important. It's set in Harold's imagination. Everything that happens to him with his crayon, it's straight from his imagination. It's a journey that we go on through his eyes, and I think it's something that kids can go ahead and find themselves able to do. Other books by Crockett Johnson are Harold's Fairy Tale and Harold's Circus that continue Harold's adventures and his imagination. Now this book uses 3 critical thinking strategies that I think this book addresses. S1, thinking independently. Students need to learn to think independently. They should take what is being read and use it as a resource to form their own thoughts and ideas of how to handle situations. Another strategy is S19, generating or assessing a solution. Students need to be critical and creative thinkers when coming up with solutions to handling situations. Harold had a lot of things that happened to him in the story. Students should take what he did and how he did it and apply it into how they would handle situations. Another one is listening critically, the art of silent dialogue. Read it aloud, ask a listener to hear the words being read by someone else and then change them and manipulate them in a way that you can best understand. Put them in a situation where you can understand the point of view of what's being read. And then critical thinkers need to learn how to ask questions to orient themselves to what's being read by the speaker. Now, a couple ways I did ask the students to engage themselves meaningfully with the story was by inserting and critiquing and controlling. Insert yourself into the story as Harold, but as yourself. What would you draw if you wanted to go for a walk under the moonlight? Where would you go? What things would you draw to come along your path? And ultimately, how would you find your way home at the end? Students then can critique how Harold handled these situations. Did they agree with how he did? Did they like what he drew? How would they have changed it? Ways they could have gone on and improved it? What they would have done differently? And then another meaningful way that we can engage through this story is dramatizing. Not so much acting out the story, but maybe giving a student a piece of paper and a crayon and say, draw what you would do. Not necessarily put words to it, but you're going on your walk. Show us where you're going on your walk. What are you coming across? And what you're going to do to handle these situations when they do happen. I think Harold and the Purple Crayon is a great book, a book that stood the test of time. Nearly 50 years ago this book was read, and I would recommend it to any teacher to read to any young student of theirs. Thank you for listening.